Such a pleasure to have you on Richard Mwenja exclusive at a time when so much is happening in this country. The month is November, the year of our Lord 2024. I'm Richard Mwenja. Welcome to the conversation. And today, as usual, I have your favorite think tank, Professor Herman Manyora, here with me to unpack the day's conversation. How are you doing today,
Fine,
sir?
fine. Very good. Thank God for being
Looking
alive.
sharp as always.
Thank you.
And aging gracefully.
Of course.
What's the secret though?
We are just there.
You're
We
just
are happy
there.
people.
All right.
Tunatosheka na ile kidogo tuko nayo.
Oh, contented to the extreme?
Yeah. If you want to live happily and maybe a little long, usiwe na tamaa sana. The little you have,
It's good for you to
it's
go.
good for you. Don't look for things you will not even manage to use.
Fair enough.
Welcome to Herencia, the heartland of good living, where you belong. A community with endless possibilities. Your path to discovering a master-planned gated community that matches your ambitions. Get yourself this must-have piece of paradise with state-of-the-art amenities, constant water supply, good security, tarmac roads, and much more. The best part, availability of buy and build financing services. Don't wait. Contact us today or visit our offices for more info. Buy and build your way at Herencia, the heartland of good living.
Prof, a few days ago, we've seen U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, tender her resignation to President Joe Biden. And we want to understand it from our Kenyan context. We've seen a section of Kenyans really rejoice at her resignation. And I want to understand the author of this joy from Kenyans. Is it because probably they say the silence of a friend in the face of adversity is what hurts the most? Is her lukewarm response to the torch of the Gen Z abductions and also some injustice in Kenya what has fueled the rage within Kenyans perhaps wanting her exit?
See, you have answered your question. See, the idea is, in the way the American system works, when the president leaves office, he lives with his people.
Sure.
And the new incoming president will come with his people, including all ambassadors. So what she has done is not unique. Others do it in a low-key way. We don't even know. Sometimes you see them even staying in for long after they have even left. But they remain for a long time. This one, the fact that she has also handed over to somebody makes it dramatic. That's why people have noticed. It's a little, but leaving is normal. But she has left a little maybe too early, at the same time in a dramatic manner. Why Kenyans have an interest in Meg Whitman is when she landed here immediately after elections, she said we had the best election she could even imagine. We had a wonderful election, free and fair. That rubbed people the wrong way. There are many people in the country at that time, and I think up to now, who believed the election was not free and fair. And when she comes and talks as if she was even conducting the election, when in fact she wasn't even here. Of course, there's the usual briefing. But to pronounce yourself on a hotly contested election, immediately after that election, when you're an ambassador, is not diplomatic. It's not the way diplomats behave. So she foregrounded herself. She put herself up there, and you remember people like Raila telling her to shut up, that Kenya is not a colony of the US. That is one. Then she continued to praise the government, continued to annoy many other people, many people in this country. Then come the Gen Z, and they were not very happy with her conduct and the things she said, and so that has been building up. And very recently, when Western envoys, ambassadors and high commissioners from the Western world, they issued a statement condemning the abductions and killings and torture and whatever it is that has been going on for some times. She was noticeably absent in terms of signing. The US did not append their signature on that list. So that has continued to build the anger against her. And therefore, naturally, when she says she's leaving, and it made even people support Trump in this country.
Oh, really?
Many of the Kenyans who supported Trump supported Trump because of the ambassador, Meg Whitman.
They wanted her departure.
Yeah. They knew if Trump wins, she will go. Yeah.
On the interwebs, we've seen much of digital activism. And this far, would you say for public figure, whether in Kenya or outside these borders, anyone who is out there to dismiss digital activism is doing so at their own peril?
That's the world we now live in. Today, digital space is everything. Somebody can be destroyed or made.
Regardless of your stage in the society?
Yes. In fact, 2027 will be a product of the digital space. The digital war will produce the president for 2027. And I'm not saying it will be Ruto, and I'm not saying it will be Kalonzo or Manyora or Eugene or Malu or Rena, but I'm just saying the digital space will contribute more than ever imagined. Yeah.
So what's your word for those who consider the digital space as digital wankers, more so the Gen Z section? Just digital wankers, nothing beyond that, nothing tangible.
People like David Ndii say, just keyboard warriors. When Gen Z happened, they realized, no, these are not keyboard warriors. These are real warriors. They were able to generate crowds that Raila has not been able to generate. They were able to generate a daring group of Kenyans that Raila has never been able to generate. They were able to enter parliament. Nobody has ever dreamed that could happen. They were able to face the water cannons and the tear gas. They were able to carry their fallen heroes, dripping blood, without fearing that they would also be shot. So anybody who had thought these are just keyboard warriors must have changed their minds. Because that's where the world has gone today. That explains why, if you look at the world today, there's a tendency of very young leaders in the Western world. A number of them young girls, young ladies, people in their early 30s and late 20s. They're now leading the Western world. And it's partly explained by the sort of world the voter is exposed to through the digital space. Yeah.
So far, if you do an audit of Kenya's X space, we are seeing new cartoon illustrations on board, and they are targeting the ruling political class of the day. They are calling injustice through cartoon illustrations. But for people like Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, they are recommending that such cartoon illustrators be arrested and charged in a court of law. Do you think these threats are dead on arrival? Can you tame such activism?
First of all, I don't want to pronounce myself on those cartoons because the man they depict he's so high up there. One word from him, you can find yours. Not that I'm a coward, but I just think it's not good. And I know Grand Mullah, Ahmed Nasir, he's speaking tongue-in-cheek. He's not serious.
Really?
Yeah, it's not serious.
But do you think you can tame such activism through such threats?
You can't.
Court threats.
Who will it be? You know, they even locked Twitter space. You remember when during Gen Z, the boys, when they did this thing, they called what? VPN or what?
Yeah.
And you can't manage.
Jurisdictions.
Yeah. How about if you lock here, the space is open elsewhere. People can open. How many Kenyans are in the US? How will you control them?
Prof, a section of Kenyans are decrying Western imperialism, and we want to understand the author of this problem. Did the rain start beating us when we put out there a beggar mentality as Kenyans? Because oftentimes we would go to the US or other nations begging for some sort of support. Is that why we cannot really also put our conditions on the table before we invite them?
You know, when we got independence, people gave us independence, but they were very clever. They took a few mission boys and gave them larger-than-life image. And then they took over. So the mission boys, when other people like Denard Kimathi and the rest were fighting for the land and freedom of this country, there were those boys of whose fathers were chiefs, missionaries, priests, catechists, who received Western education. And now, as it becomes obvious that colonialism must come to an end for the many factors that were responsible for it, the departing colonial masters knew if they didn't take care and the Kimathis, the real fighters, take over, they will have a problem. They wanted to live physically, but leave their boys around. So they ensured that they made some of them legends. In the fullness of time, when people like Mandela, they will come to be seen for who they were. People like Jomo Kenyatta and the rest. So it's not just here. But the basic what I'm trying to say is that the master did not leave. He left a compliant class of people in charge. So those people have, their umbilical cord has never been severed. It's tied to the West. They are dependent. And one of the things they did, especially because of the Cold War, is to perpetually make the president of any of these countries live in fear that any time Jaramogi atachukua serikali fulani atapendua serikali yako. They created enemies for Kenyatta, you know. Not just Kenyatta, for many of these other people.
A sense of phobia.
So then you hanging on to the West, to the British, to the French, because they have turned your people into enemies. They are telling you your people, we can protect you. And then they make sure that you don't have the money. You keep on begging. And finally, the reason why this happens is that many of the people who lead African countries are the worst you can get in terms of, we ensure that our leaders, not necessarily political leaders, leaders in all spheres and sectors, are not the most intelligent. So the system has a way of blocking intelligent people down here, as it lets useless people go through and become at the top and lead. It happens even in organizations. When you look at an organization critically, you ask yourself, is this the best person to lead this organization? The answer is no. So those countries that have succeeded in the West, they don't block the best people from going up. They open, people go up. Here in Africa, they have blocked. Intelligent people cannot go through. They only open kidogo for a fool to go. Then like that. Then it closes like that. That's a problem, yeah.
That is how it works down here.
That's how it works in Africa and other third world countries. Yeah.
Let's advance this conversation further and perhaps look at Meg Whitman's biggest legacy, even before she exits Kenya officially. Would you say that now that during her tenure as U.S. ambassador to Kenya, it is when we were recognized as a major and a NATO ally in sub-Saharan Africa, a first for Kenya? Would you say that that is the biggest achievement from her side for Kenya?
Let me ask you, does Kenya becoming a non-NATO ally of the U.S. put food on the table for Kenyans? What does it mean to Kenyans? Nothing. It has no value. It is in the interest of America. So that quickly they can begin to put their they continue to have a foothold in this country, leading to military bases and what have you. How does that benefit Kenyans?
That when we're in the face of adversity in terms of security
Which
issues,
security?
we have a bigger brother.
How can you see the same thing they told the presidents of Africa, you are people, you are very people, you are enemies, you need us to protect you. Now they are telling us our neighbors are our enemies. How can our neighbors be our enemies? How can Tanzania be an enemy to Kenya or Uganda or Somalia or Sudan? How? These are our brothers. Is there any of our neighbors where we don't have cross-border relatives? The Maasai in Kenya, the Maasai in Tanzania. The Kuria in Kenya, the Kuria in Tanzania. The Luo in Kenya, the Luo in Tanzania.
Turkana and
Karamajong. So what are we talking about? Somalia in Kenya. What are you talking about, my friend?
So when you see them coming on board saying they're going to help Kenya modernize our artillery.
How? For what? Whom do you want to fight? Would we fight you? We don't even need these things. But we are the same people. These boundaries are artificial.
To support Kenya's mission in Somalia?
What for? No. We are brothers and sisters. Somalia cannot be our enemy. Tanzania, whom do you want to fight? Them, they are creating enemies across the world. You know? In order to dominate the world, you weaken the world. You create unnecessary wars between people so that you dominate. America will always want to be the superpower. To do that, some of the tactics is to ensure the world is continually at war in hotspots, you know? Yeah.
Sure enough. Very finally, Prof, oftentimes on this show, you've gone on board and say, for every dollar that comes into Kenya, at least 7 leave Kenyan border space. And I want to understand, so that we term such an issue, how then can we harness the potential of our diplomats all over the world so that even when going to the negotiation table on those bilateral agreements and ties, we still have quite substantive thing trickling down to us as Kenyans?
You know, that can only happen if the leadership of the nations of Africa, including Kenya, if the leadership is serious, they want to develop the country. But how sure are you they are serious they want to develop the country? Who are they? Are they serving the interest of the people or their own interest and that of their masters? If you had somebody in charge of a country whose intention is to serve the interests of the people of that country, he will do what you are saying. To become an ambassador, you must be somebody resourceful and useful to your country. But because the leadership of Africa does not want to develop Africa, they cannot put in place a program of ensuring that ambassadors who across the world bring things to Africa. The stories talk about South Korea, North Korea, and all these other great nations and upcoming in young industrialized nations. The story is told how they go to the West and bring technology back home and adapt that technology and produce the things you are seeing. So that South Korea, with all its wonders in technology, in electronics, you see. But here we just send people to go and take wine and drink whiskey.
As political rewards in terms of appointments?
Yeah. Because nobody wants them to work. If they wanted people to work, do you think the people we call ambassadors will be ambassadors?
But they undergo vetting even.
But which is vetting? We have never had vetting. Vetting is just a joke. There's no vetting.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. At that point, take this show to a wrap. We've been discussing a raft of issues in the world of politics and governance. We thank you so much for tuning in to this conversation. And how about you stay tuned for our next edition, coming up with Evan Sukinyi, Jadiel Kabiro, and also yours truly with Honorable Kipruto Arap Kiro. But until then, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Welcome to Herencia, the heartland of good living, where you belong. A community with endless possibilities. Your path to discovering a master-planned gated community that matches your ambitions. Get yourself this must-have piece of paradise with state-of-the-art amenities, constant water supply, good security, tarmac roads, and much more. The best part, availability of buy and build financing services. Don't wait. Contact us today or visit our offices for more info. Buy and build your way at Herencia, the heartland of good living.